Christine,
There you go. So I have the great pleasure this morning of introducing our keynote speaker. And a little bit of information about Lizelena on the screen here. Lots about training and coaching. She teaches, she coaches, she writes curriculum. She's been doing this a while. She is the moderator of the science community at Links and one of the main Links trainers. I know that I have attended some sessions from her recently. Our New Mercy coordinator, Lindsay Poost, and I have seen Lizelena present on incorporating statistical thinking into lessons and working with infographics. I sometimes get asked who are some of the people that get me super, super excited. And Lizelena is one of those people. I have had the pleasure of seeing her live at COABE. I have attended webinars that she's given. And one of the things that I love so much is the focus on integrating literacy into content areas, into social studies, into science, into occupational content. And being a literacy person, I, of course, want literacy to be everywhere. I want students to be reading and writing about content, no matter what the content is. And so I could not be more pleased to have Lizelena. I'm fangirling a little bit here. So I'm so happy to introduce her, and it's going to be a really, really wonderful morning.
There you go. Well, I'm here. Thank you so much for that introduction. I'm so excited to be here with you all. I participated. I joined yesterday the keynote and the session on writing an AI and Christine's session yesterday, and it was phenomenal. There is so much. I was noting in the morning when I met with Christine and the team that there's so much energy and collective knowledge that please let's use that up today. Throughout my session. So let me share the slides. And let's start our conversation today. So welcome to reading, writing, and thinking across the curriculum in the content area. It's a topic that I'm really passionate about. As Christina said, I'm always looking for bringing literacy into, particularly I began with science and kind of understanding how powerful literacy strategies could be integrated into science and social studies and ESOL. So I'm excited to have this conversation with you all today. So please participate. I always like to conduct my webinars and sessions utilizing the knowledge in the room. There's so much here. Join me, use the chat. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a good time today. I have a lot of activities for us today, but also a lot of reflection and moments to debrief together. So I always like to start my classes and my trainings with either a minute of breathing to center us all. We have a full day ahead. We have a lot of activities ahead. I decided not to do the minute breathing today, but positive affirmations. It's a very simple strategy we could add to our routines in the classroom. These are confident boosters. They create a positive classroom culture routine. They reduce stress, and they actually encourage a growth mindset. So what I want us to do, and I'm going to model with mine, what I want us to do in the chat is just give us a positive affirmation for the day. So I want to share my own today in the chat, which I have ready for you. And this is my affirmation for today. I'm in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. So join me and please add your positive affirmation for today. Yes, do your best, have fun. Yes. It could be a quote. Exactly, that's how it feels. I love it. We're friends, and that's how it feels, so at ease, even though I have 200 people in the room, but I'm at ease. I'm good. This is exactly where I want to be. Excellent. Love it. I'm ready to learn, Cynthia. Great. We're all helping us. Yes. Our work matters, and it matters every day. Oh, this is so beautiful. In it together. I can't do anything with coffee. I'm with you. I'm enough. Yes. I support the coffee. The coffee idea. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm loading this again. This is a routine that I've tried lately, either the breathing exercises, and you could do affirmations or breathing the beginning of the class, middle of the class, towards the end of the class. Is something like really worth it, to have as part of our daily, not only professionally, but also in our life. So I want to start off warming up, and I have created a Padlet, and this Padlet has the help of AI. So in the chat, you're going to find the link to my Padlet, and Padlet is one of those tools that we're going to be utilizing today. So today will be the chat, the Padlet, and also a little Mentimeter that I have for you today, and a Google form. But in the chat, please access the link to this Padlet. Let me actually check if it's there. If not, I'm going to share it. All right. Give me a minute. Oh, no. Give me a minute, and I will share the link for you to join me. Here you go. So grab that Padlet link for me and meet me there. This is a fun activity. I'm going to wait a little bit for you to join me. I'm projecting that now. What I want you to do, let me give you a little bit of a structure to do this. So what I'm trying you to do is I want you to define what critical thinking is. And I have 3 examples for you. And we are utilizing the AI Studio for Padlet. What you could do is you could click anywhere on the Padlet, or you could click on the plus sign of the Padlet. Once you do that, there is the AI icon in the middle of the Padlet column. I want you to click on it. And when you're responding to what critical thinking is, when you're responding to your definition, it will create an image for you. I want you to write your definition, and I want you to publish your image. So I have 3 examples. I believe this is my example of critical thinking. I believe Christine is the second example. And I don't remember if Maxi actually tried to define critical thinking. So this is it. Go to your Padlet link, double click anywhere, or use the plus sign. When you use the plus sign, you're going to click, and there is a green icon in the middle. Click on it. Click on the AI icon. Define critical thinking, and don't forget to publish your image. There you go. Oh, I love it. That's a very interesting one. If you scroll up and down, we're populating the Padlet with a lot of images. So, ooh, that is very interesting. I love that. A lot of female figures showing up on this. Creative solution. I love it. Focus. Excellent. Thinking outside the box. Oh, this is great. All right, I definitely have to share this Padlet with you all. Beautiful. Oh, look at this one, this projection of neurons and pathways. Okay, this is fascinating. Let me check the chat. How do you go to the image? You go to the image by actually clicking on the plus sign, and then the Padlet pop-up will present to you, and there is a green icon in the middle, which is the AI icon. You click on it, write your definition of critical thinking, and it will pop up an image for you, and you will publish. So thank you so much for that. It was a good moment to play a little bit with the Padlet tool, and also kind of look at what Padlet is offering using AI, which is so popular and so much part of the conversation in education right now. Thank you for that. So quoting, important. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time of this, but I looked at in putting together this session and thinking about disciplinary literacy and content area literacy. I looked at all these books and all these resources. It was back in 2019 when I attended, I think, the last in-person International Literacy Association conference in New Orleans, where I attended Jassy Ippolito's session on content area and disciplinary thinking. And since then, I've been thinking about it, right? I've been thinking about how do we translate that into adult education and into social studies, ESOL, ABE, and all the things we do. So I'm pretty much guiding this conversation today by Ippolito's ideas of disciplinary literacy and how to use it in education, how to use it in the content areas, and also Leah Cosette, which has interesting things to add to the conversation I wanted to know. For today, 3 goals. And I want to say the most important, collaborate and share ideas. And also we're going to look at instructional practices that help the students build knowledge through the reading of engaging and authentic tests. And we're going to look at writing a strategy that help us engage with content, developing a sense of learning within the content area. So those are 3 main goals for today. We're dividing the session, as Christine said, part 1, part 2. Part 1, we're going to be talking about reading and reading strategies. We're going to go to a break and we're going to get into writing. And we have a lot of activities throughout. So let's start. Let's start us off. Let me check the chat, which I'd like to do often for interaction. There you go. So I want to start us off with this point of analysis. And I want us to begin thinking about content area and disciplinary literacy and reading and thinking across the curricula this way. Reading, thinking, reasoning, writing, and whatever we do varies depending on the subject matter. And this inherent diversity highlights that every content that we address shapes, conveys, and assesses information in its own distinctive way. So our students need comprehension strategies to better access content, the content we're presenting, no matter what the area is. Negotiating exposition requires a completely different set of cognitive skills from the comprehension of narrative literature. The processes are different, and sometimes our students need support kind of thinking about the text and with the text. And that's what I think it's important to keep into consideration when bringing these strategies, no matter what the area is. And let me illustrate this point further, utilizing one of my favorite strategies that we could use no matter what, which is making a prediction. And I want to invite you to make predictions right now. So my first question to you on predictions for that matters is, what do you think will happen if we continue adding paper clips to the cup? Please storm that chat. What do you think will happen if we continue adding paper clips to the cup? And I'm checking. Overflow, a mess. Excellent. A tsunami. All right, I love it. Oh, let me check this. Jennifer, the water will bubble up. How interesting. Jennifer, how interesting. The water will bubble up. The metal will contaminate the water. That is certain. All right. Excellent. Thank you for this. Paper clips will sink to the bottom of the cup. All right. Thank you for that storm of ideas while making a prediction for this. Let's take a look at this second round. So these illustrations are by Luisa Rivera, Para Penguin Random House, and for training purposes only. For the purpose of today, we're using these images. So considering the title, right? Love in the Time of Cholera, right? What do you think the story might explore? What do you think the author chose this title? And what themes or emotions could be depicted in a book with this title? Again, the questions are presented to you. Love in the Time of Cholera, looking at these images, what do you think the story might explore? What do you think the author chose this title? And what themes or emotion could be depicted in a book with this title? Run to the chat and let me know. longevity. The story will include a journey, survival, happiness, love in the face of adversity and grief, longevity. Students may relate to the cholera epidemic, to the experience with COVID, relevancy, great. Importance of family. Immigration. Generations, all right. Love, family, drama, historical context, perseverance. All right. A storm of beautiful, predictions. All right. I have a third prediction for you. See how it feels. Predict how the American Civil War might have influenced the economic, social, and political developments in the United States during the Reconstruction era. Hmm. Excellent. Excellent. New thinking. Ash, excellent. Good. Ashley, Ashley, harder to participate with the background knowledge. All right. Thank you for that. And I think you're kind of answering my question already. It's organically happened. So there were three different predictions from three different areas. What did you notice with these predictions? And remember, we're illustrating, we're making a connection with the opening point of this conversation, which is thinking, reasoning, and doing varies depending on the content area. And every area shapes, in this case, the prediction according to what they're offering, right? So what did you notice about these predictions? Are they the same, the different? Image help, right? Making a prediction about something easy made it easier to make a prediction on more difficult questions. Exactly. All true and all good points. All true and all points. So what I wanted to share with you is, so there were three different content areas I was addressing, right? Science. When we made the prediction about science, it doesn't matter what you come in, it helps students to engage more actively with the content. The result, it was a quick prediction, fast, and we all had something to say. When I presented Love into Time of Cholera, mind you, many of you might have read the book, but it doesn't matter. The title and the image definitely foster critical thinking. They give an opportunity to invite about what the book could be about. And there's a piece of engagement with human emotions. As you well predicted, using this type of prediction, we gotta be careful, because when we pose a prediction of such nature in social studies, you said it throughout, many of you alluded to it, background knowledge is necessary. And such a robust strategy, that we could use, like actually we make predictions every day all the time, could be themed by the fact that indeed background knowledge is necessary to do that. Exactly. So think about many times, and the invitation to think and reflect is, think about how many times we've used a prediction. We invite students to predict, just to kind of not having into consideration that many times background knowledge and support, visual, extra text is necessary. So even instructional strategy should be used only when they align logically with the specific content or subject matter we're addressing. And sometimes, as you saw, it's hard to align it. It's hard to make a prediction, if even that's what you want to do, with the third example we were looking at. And what happened is, what has happened lately is like these strategies that cross-cut various subjects, sometimes the way we present it to students become routine exercises rather than effective tools to enhance comprehension in the content area. So let's think further a little bit more. Given your context and audiences, what does it mean to make a difference? Given your context, given your audience, I know we have ESL teachers, a BHA teacher, what does it mean to make a difference? I'm going to be looking. Yes. Okay. I love it. I love how you're using an equation to define what a prediction could be. An inference, sorry. This is great. Oh, in digital literacy, I'm curious, Susan. In digital literacy, I would say means, I want to read this. I would say it means that you look at what's on the screen and make a guess about what to do next to accomplish your task. Thinking ChatGPT, you sample that. Excellent. Thank you for helping me with the chat. So, and again, in social studies that we were referring to, right? What does it mean to make a difference in social studies? For example, drawing conclusion, it involves the ability to analyze primary or secondary sources, making reasoned assumptions and form logical interpretation based on historical context. In ELA, reading, writing, many times involves the ability of students to grasp implied or suggested meanings, identify implicit meanings, predicting outcomes, understanding characters, motivation, feelings. And as you were saying in ESOL, this is something we do every day. And the challenge is perhaps in ESOL to kind of bring and support vocabulary. Catherine is asking, what about math? What about math? This is like in science. What about math? What does it mean to make a prediction for math? What, sorry, I keep thinking about prediction. What does it make to make a difference? Such a powerful tool in math. I don't know if someone, okay, Danielle, exactly. What is a number that is too low? What is a number that is too high? Everybody can participate and be right. We just have to align it to the content area. Look at a graph and predict a trend. That's an inference in the math area. In science too, look at an ecosystem, right, and make a prediction. If we move a piece, a part of the ecosystem, if we introduce a new species to the ecosystem, make a prediction. Excellent. So one thing to consider and to keep in mind always is students should know and must consider the what and the how aspect of the learning process, and also the why of the learning process. And also, if you push me further, the what is next of the learning process. It's important to never teach strategies in isolation, but provide some context to the strategy. And it's important that we establish an adaptable environment that we present reading, writing, and thinking in the content areas in a flexible manner. And one thing, I attended Christine's session yesterday, and one thing about when we're using predictions and we're using inferences, it's important to go back, right? Once the lesson has occurred, or the reading has occurred, or you finish the unit, it's important to go back and revisit predictions and inferences and kind of negotiate the meaning that has occurred after that. It's important that we actually do that. All right. Let me check the chat. Excellent. So a little moment of interaction. So how often do you? So you have the ability to, I want to move my thing so you could do it. Let me move my control. You could scan the QR code. We have a Google form of interaction, and I have a tiny URL for you. So in the chat, Scan the QR code. Thank you, Marisa. Excellent. And the tiny URL for you to access is a Google form. Yes, math is a content area and a robust one. Any problem in the chat accessing the Google form? Please let me know. Okay. I have 72 responses, so I want to share the screen to look at the results. There you go. So how often in your classroom do you use determine validity of the source? And we invited students to determine and analyze source, right? Look at the results. Thank you for adding your questions. How often do you chart, illustrate, and graph data and conclusions? There you go. How do students act as investigators looking for patterns and relationship? Interested about vocabulary. As an investigator, think about vocabulary, maybe use, right? Use reading as a way to make connections or understand real world issues. Thank you for sharing all that. So you're all doing really great work in the classroom. Thank you for sharing that. So in thinking about content area and in thinking about standards, it is important that students engage in the habits of thinking and working within the content area. It is important that we invite students to be creative and do critical thinking, tools to identify problems within the content area. It is important that we let students wrestle a little bit to demonstrate learning in the content areas, and inviting writing also and speaking as they act as learners, as they act as historians, as they act as mathematicians and scientists in the content area. It's important that when we design our lessons, we will have that into consideration. So in the chat, there is another Padlet engagement. Let's talk a little bit about text. And I want you to tell me, in your opinion, and given your context and audiences, what are the biggest challenges in finding authentic text to use with your students? Grab that Padlet link in the chat. I want you to join me there, and I want you to tell me what are the biggest challenges. I'm sorry about the audio. Finding materials, right? Finding high interest texts at varying level. Money, okay, resources. I want to go back and address, there was a previous comment, and I think it's related to this. It's related to this, the comment of some of these things are much harder to do at low levels. And I think it relates a little bit to like, okay, what are the challenges of finding authentic and engaging text for students? And I want to address that. Some of the things, so I think no matter, so for example, the two, and I'm checking the chat for you to accompany me into this reflection, right? So some of the, so we're talking about making reflection, making predictions, making inferences, engaging with text, you know, finding authentic text given the level. I think, in my opinion, is the negotiations and structures that we have to keep in mind, right? When designing activities, when designing the questioning we want to engage in the class between the text, the reader, and the task. I believe if it doesn't matter the level, if you present the material at the right level with the right engagement, anyone could make a prediction. I don't know if you have anything to add. So I won't limit what in my mind when I'm working with ABEs in my case, right? I negotiate the task, the test, and the reader. And I don't limit these skills based on the levels. I don't know if you have anything to add to that comment. Okay, so I'm requested to turn off my video to support the audio. I'm sorry about that. So I did, let me know. So I'm addressing, again, I'm calling for to address the portion where the limitation, you know, I don't want to say limitation, but the idea of like, how do we address low levels and how do we kind of address working, you know, making inferences and making predictions with low level. My post to that is the negotiation between presenting the adequate, you know, the right level of task, the right level of text to work with lower levels. Okay, so I'm gonna continue. So authentic reading in the classroom, and someone said money, yeah, resources. So we could, when we think about authentic reading, we think about current events, tables, graphs, blogs, political cartoons, technical manuals, timelines, multimodal texts, photographs, and visual text. And I highlighted visual text because I want us to spend some time today thinking about visual text, thinking about those images and thinking about how we use them in the classroom. So I'm going to take that into consideration and we're going to look at that. So in your opinion, so there is a Padlet link in the chat and I want you to join me on this. Why is visual literacy important in our classrooms? And what are some skills associated with visual literacy? Please grab that Padlet. One image equals 1,000 words. You can sort with images, absolutely. So you could, if you don't find your plus sign, you could double click and it's working for me. But if the Padlet is not working, we could utilize the chat. If for some reason the Padlet is not working, it's working for me, please use the plus sign or let's utilize the chat. So in your opinion, my question is, Why is visual literacy important in our classrooms? And what are some skills associated with visual literacy? In the way our society communicates, the relevancy, right? Maybe more promote critical thinking, is brain-based, visual literacy, okay? Some students are a stronger visual learner. Daily life skills, absolutely. And that's why I wanted to bring into consideration what the importance of bringing this type of text to your classroom. So one of the, in addition to visual text that we're concentrating on, this is an array of authentic text that we can bring to the classroom. Not only visual text, but political cartoon, blogs, tables, graphs. It's important to bring this to the classroom. So how about visual skills? What are some skills, in your opinion, associated with visual literacy? Okay, I'm reading, interpreting data, drawing conclusion, compare and contrast. Yes. Visual thinking strategies. What do you notice? What do you think this is about? What evidence can you support? I'm sorry about the Padlet, but we're utilizing the chat. Examples, not examples. Connectivity with images. Yes, recognizing visual proportion, a kind of numeracy skill. Yes, thank you for that. So visual literacy, right? I like this definition that I'm presented to you, is the ability to make sense of information, right? Information that comes to us through visuals, right? And it's the ability also to interrogate and to analyze the information and infer meaning the visual is presented to us. And in addition, I like the second part of this, which is how to effectively use image to communicate meaning. Not only from the perspective of like use it to consume the image, but effectively presenting images to communicate image. So in the chat, what visual text do you typically bring to your classroom? And what visual thinking strategies do you use with this text? Exactly, Ashley. At least the visual can elicit a little bit of a background. Graphs, predictions, find evidence, anything and everything on a laptop screen. There you go. Cartoons, science, current events. Yes. This is a skill that is tested in GED and TAPE, practical reason for teaching it. Yeah. Memes, yes. And find evidence with this. Thank you. Yes. It's something, it's something that we have to deal with it on a daily basis. So we're going to move to exactly, what do you think this photo is about? Can you tell me more about the visual thinking strategy widely used at museums when interpreting art? We could use it in our classroom to maps. So we're going to move ahead, and we're going to move to a group activity. Right, and what I want you to do in this, you're going to be put into breakout rooms, and your assignment is to analyze a visual text, and I have a supporting guide for you. So in the Padlet, in the chat, you will find the instructions to this assignment. And let me move you to the Padlet. So you're going to be placing breakout rooms. And when you access the Padlet, this Padlet, you're going to have here different columns with different group. So your group will be your breakout room. If you are in breakout room 1, your group will be 1. And then right here, you have a Google Doc that you can click on it and access. When you access this Google Doc, you have an infographic. I see that you're joining. And below, you have instructions after reading your test. I want you to put your students hat a little bit in analyzing these infographics. And I want you to come back after analysis. So I'm going to check the chat. So you're going to be placed in breakout rooms. You're going to graph that Google document with your group. It's an infographic and the questions with the infographic. And I want you to analyze, I want in your groups to look at the infographics and try to answer questions, the questions associated with the text. Is there any question about this activity that you're going to be moved into breakout rooms? I'm checking the chat now. Okay, perfect. It was great to see you. Great to see some of your faces for a moment, and I was following the Padlet. So we have a moment now where we're gonna share about this experience, but I want to invite you to take at least a minute to go back to the Padlet and see the comments your colleagues are adding. So I want to invite you to go back for a minute and see all the responses. I'm going to give you a wait time of a minute.
And if we could have everyone please turn your video off. Thank you.
Okay. So just a little minute. I mean, I always like to kind of go back when we have this type of activities where we're divided into breakout rooms. I like to take a moment to go back and see what others are saying. So I have some reactions to this, and I have some guiding questions. As a reader, what strategies did you use to understand this type of text, this infographic? How did the questions help you guide your understanding of the text? And I want to pose a third question. As a teacher, what additional strategies would you use to support your ABE and your ESL students when using this text? I'm giving you a bit of a context for these infographics. This infographics is freely accessible. There is a site that I often go that is called Daily Infographics, and you access infographics of many different topics for free. It's called Daily Infographics, and that's what the source for that one. This was part of a lesson where we were looking at validity of sources and kind of questioning the author a little bit, right? Like, what is the author trying to say? Is this a valid source? What is the meaning? So it was in the context of more critiquing, this. So I have your 3 questions for you, and I invite you to participate in the chat, but also if you want to jump in, that will be great. Unmute yourself and rate. Okay, Liz, that's an interesting. I think this infographic is a good example of why it is important to teach students visual hierarchy, bigger words are main points. True. Yes, I will. I think you have access to my slides as well. But yes, there you go, daily infographics. But I will add that resources for you. Scanning, yes, try to scan. How about exactly. So Susan, the image, words and colors are on purpose, and they're evoking that gross, that bias. It's a good opportunity. Also, we were talking in the class to introduce biases and to introduce who's the audience here? What are we trying to do, right? So there were questions that I would not have come up with my own, as well as questions I asked myself implicitly to enhance my metacognition. Yes. Remember, kind of I presented to you, it's important to kind of know the how and the what of the learning process. Yes, absolutely. By the way, these infographics took us like a week. So this wasn't one lesson. We were analyzing, and we actually, if there's, I'm sure I have math teachers in the room, then we got into math a little bit and how the data, the numbers were actually manipulating the information. So we got into that too. Oh, wow, bias and propaganda. Yes, author's purpose. Carly, excellent. Discuss different style of persuasion and shock value. I like that angle. I want to add, no, Ruth, dietitious behavior, I don't think it changed. I think it wasn't the purpose. The purpose was to actually look at validity of sources and author's message and questioning the author. So we're using the strategy, in addition, the questioning the author strategy. So we're kind of inviting the students to critique this. And the final activity, the students had to come up, and we were using, they had the choice to use Canva, or they had the choice to use Google Slides. And the final activity was presenting an infographics that responded, that less biased, you know, in a way. We talk about how some students might benefit from being presented the information. Yes. Slow reveal, Martha, like a math graph, like a slow reveal of a math. That would be good to do. Thank you for that. I've never done a slow reveal with an infographic, but I think it would be a good strategy. Thank you for adding that. Said I'm curious. I'm trying to go. So I'm moving very fast. This was part of a Stephanie. This was like a larger unit on. We were looking at primarily two things: validity of sources and biases. And then we noticed, we had the lesson, but we revised it moving forward in the middle of the lesson. And we noticed that questioning the author, questioning the text was important to add, given what we were looking at when we were assessing the lesson midway through it. Was for pre-HAC class level. And we added a little bit of digital literacy, and we wanted the students not only to consume the infographics, but we wanted the students to create their own infographic. So I'm reading all. So it was Paulina, it was a pre-HAC class level, and it was what was the other question? I'm sorry, level. So it was a pre-HAC level, and we did it in the context of science. Actually, the creating of the infographic was a fun thing to do. And I have to confess, that was a Friday lesson and we couldn't finish. So many of them actually went home and finished it. I like the meme. I'm not trying to change anyone's dietaries, but my question is, I think you've answered how the students create the infographics. So primarily they were using Google Slides, because, you know, accessible, easy to use. But some others went ahead and they were using Canva. I invited some of them through my account to use Canva. Another infographic source, creative source I use is PictoChart. And now PictoChart has AI, has an AI component, and it actually creates the infographics for you. So you say, if you never try it, right? You go to infographics and then you prompt the picture chart, right? And you say, I'd like to create, the better the prompt, the better the outcome of the infographic. You prompt it and it creates the own infographics for you. We didn't do that. I'm gonna picture chart. Yes, like that. I'm gonna actually put the link in the chat once I get it for you to have. It's a paid account, but it gives you plenty of freebies, so you don't have to pay, which I never like to invite anyone. So let me check the chat more. There you go. Thank you, Marisa. Picture chart. So it was interesting that you're saying that. Of course, we so I'm a reflective practitioner, so we were assessing the unit in the middle of teaching the unit, you know, and so I kind of we had to adjust and readjust plenty of time, like telling the students the purpose of this reading, the purpose of this analysis, because many times the impact of the image and the impact of the infographics, they were thinking that we were trying for them to change and to become vegetarians or vegans, and that wasn't the choice. So we were in reanalyzing the lesson, we were adjusting a little bit of that. So I have to confess that happened during it. But I can see, and my question before we wrap up for you take your 10-minute break is, could you use something like this in the classroom? Can you picture yourself using infographics as your main text in the classroom? Definitely. All right. And in like, even if in social studies, in science, in reading, do you see yourself a little more simplified? Yes. Of course, I understand, right? When we talk about levels, as I said, this wasn't done at once. We had a week of analysis. Many questions were presented first, then later. And of course, adjusting the level, you know, you best know your audience and you best know your level. Oh, excellent. On how a bill becomes a law, right? Hey, that's a great idea, like how to compare two texts and showing both points of view. Yes, that's a great idea. Many times I like to do parallel text. And for example, when I have used graphic novels, which is I'm a big fan of comics and graphic novels in the classroom, I like to bring the classic, you know, the traditional book and images of the graphic novel and compare. Same with infographics, right? Yes, Liz, graphic novels and comics. Yes, I'm a big fan of bringing that in the classroom. Exactly, Michelle, as long as you're making informed decisions. So thank you for the part number one. Thank you for this chat. I definitely want to save the chat. I hope my audio got a little better. And well, I'm inviting you now to take a well-deserved 10-minute break. Please stretch, have water, tea, coffee, and welcome back. I hope you had a good 10-minute break. It was a little bit more than 10 minutes, but with something happened with the timer, but I'm happy we got to get a little break. So let's continue our conversation today. And thank you again. I wanted to thank you again for your participation during part one of the session. So a little formative assessment. If there is one thing you're taking away from part one, what would it be? If you can chat that out. If there is one thing you're taking away from part one, what would that be? In the chat, please. Infographics, okay? If there is one thing you're taking away, one idea, one resource, one thought, one strategy, what would that be? Visual help, images. Yes, play with Amy. I'm with you. I'm in that thinking. I want to play more with AI options for the Padlet. There's actually a lot more to do with it, and I want to work more with that. Importance of background knowledge and context. Yes, Scott, I agree. We can have a whole session on background knowledge and scaffolding that knowledge and how to bring about that knowledge. I'm always thinking about that. I'm kind of trying to get better at that. Yes, Valerie, the use of infographics can be introduced to all levels. It doesn't matter. Image help develop critical thinking overall. That we're looking about it. Thank you, Julio, for adding that comment. The power of the image, the power of infographic. Thank you. I like to look. Oh, thank you, Liz. I'm always so concerned, about how to make worth your time, how to make it engaging despite all the technical hiccups. I'm always very concerned about that and respecting the time here, try to lecture less and center more participants to increase engagement and contribution and powerful discussion despite the online situation that we're dealing with. Thank you for that. So let's move on. I hope you had a good break. We're towards the end of the session. So I want to start us off again, the conversation in the chat, and I want a reaction to a quote. And we're going to move into the writing a little bit. So we're going to move writing and thinking a little bit. What do you think about that? What's your reaction? For the students to learn, it is essential that they write. The physical act of writing means learning. Very important, but not the only way to learn. I agree. In Western educational tradition, good point. Not necessarily. Writers read and readers write, right? My reaction is yes, Christine says, writing to deepen comprehension is an effective strategy. Well, if you, Sherry, I'm a big proponent of translanguaging, so I've let my students write using their own language, their own native language in the class. So I'm a big proponent of that, of translanguage. So if they want to write in their own, why not? Yeah, it's gonna come on. My students like the cover that they don't enjoy writing is a whole Rob said, of course it is. Spanglish, Wrangler, yes, why not? There are many times where I'm engaging thought of a complicated subject, and I go back to my Espanol, I go back to my Spanish, and I find myself kind of, when I have a difficult comprehension to break, attempting to do so with my Spanish. And I agree, Susan, there might be other ways to express understanding, not only writing. Okay, Christine. Yes. It might depend on how we define learning or what we're asking them to learn. That's why I think it's such a rich, controversial topic. Like what my first, when I was presented with this, my first was a yes. But then I kept thinking, I'm like, wait, why yes? Yes, but why yes? So in any case, made me kind of think about everything you're saying in addition. Well, what about cultural? What are all the cultures? How is the way expressing? If the goal is students demonstrating knowledge, totally acceptable. Okay, thank you for that. So some ideas, maybe writing does not always happen on paper, on the screen. And Christine, with you, I agree that students should have options and agency in how to demonstrate learning. Yes. Requires writing, I think. I agree. So a couple points, and you can interact with the points in the chat as well, but I wanted to bring it for your consideration, right? Let me do that. So writing, and this is a lot of what I'm seeing and what I'm thinking, and please, I invite you to contribute to the chat in agreement or disagreement. I think writing is often disregarded, and context takes over comprehending the content through writing. Many times, I'm not saying all of us, definitely in my journey as an educator, as a reflective practitioner, I have moved to looking at writing in the content area, particularly in science, a little bit more. So I'm speaking for experience. So there is also, I love that, writing is thinking, slow down. Yes, that's the way I think. Really, this is better than demonstrating learning through multiple choice. And as I said, as Christine said, the students should have agency and a menu, right, to demonstrate learning. But I want to invite us to think about writing a little bit more. And there is also a prevailing overall, I mean, I'm not saying you as a group or me or your seat, there is a prevailing perception that teachers in content areas are specifically trained as writing instructors. I have read many teachers in the content areas that I work with, when I invite them to use writing as part of the lesson, that tell me, well, I don't know, I'm not a writing teacher. I'm not the right person to writing in the math context or in the science context. That's not uncommon. And again, I'm just sharing my ideas. My experience of what I see. I think students should have plenty of opportunity to write pieces, and not every piece and not every type of writing should be formally assessed. We should invite writing in the classroom, right? No matter what. And it's we don't have to assess everything. We don't have to grade everything. You don't have to correct anything. It's an invitation to use writing as a tool in the class. I like it's fresh out of the publication by Daphne Greenberg in Georgia, who does a lot of work with adult students. There is very limited research in the area of writing and strategy instruction that has proven effective in K through 12. It seems that a very limited research in the area concerning the adult learning. Yes, writing revolution. It's a great resource, so I wanted to mention that too. Another point I want to mention is just like similar to K through 12 and beginning college writers, adult learners need explicit instruction on writing strategies. I like Martha's point. In K through 12, the pendulum swung way over to reading, writing, and math as getaways into science and social studies. This was fundamentally wrong. I see some of this in IB. So the research on content area literacy and disciplinary literacy now, writing as well as reading now is kind of rooted with the content area, not across them. And as our researchers are telling us. And I want to ask you in the chat, how does writing to learn come into your teaching? Don't worry about the typo. Paulina, don't worry about the typo. We're not assessing writing. So how does writing to learn come into your teaching? In the chat, please, if you can share a little bit about that. Dictation, okay. Grammar and context. I always want to hear about that. Asking questions in the chat, all right. Helping students to express connections between ideas. Reading and writing skills go hand to hand. Free write. Real world connections, okay. Alphabetics, okay. Writing in conjunction with vocabulary words. Right. Sending emails to teachers. So that's I always think, you know, when I think about writing, you know, I think about writing to learn during class, right? Writing to learn during class, demonstrating understanding during class. Writing to engage, I think is important to do after class, right? That's a good practice to have. And writing in the content area or writing in the discipline to kind of address more complex issues in the class. There are so many kinds of writing. Yes, there are so many kinds of writing. I use the Padlet. The Padlet has a format where it's kind of a blog. I love to promote that. I love to bring that into class. And kind of it simulates a kind of a blog or a social media chat, a social media storm. And I like to, for students to, instead of having an oral discussion, to engage in written discussion, to use that. So thank you for sharing all those strategies that you're doing. All right, so let's do a little Menti. You have the QR code, or you have the code. Go to Menti. So let's see about prioritization. So if you go to menti.com, the code is 78722719, or you could scan the QR code. I have to confess, I was telling Christina, I don't use Menti that often, so I decided to take the chance and be resilient about it. So you're gonna have to forgive me. Oh, I love that, Nate. Yes, love that. Giving an audience to students. All right. All good with the Menti? I'm gonna stop sharing. And I'm gonna call the Menti. Yeah, my laptop.
Lizelena,
Yes.
as you mentioned me with Menti, are you presenting it? There's a button up in the upper right-hand corner where you present, and then that opens up the Menti for everyone.
It's working now, Christine.
Terrific.
Yeah. Thank you so much. As I said, I want to try.
Oh my
So
goodness. We all understand. We've all had our own learning journeys.
Yes. And I decided, there you go. Thank you. It worked. I appreciate it. I like to take risk. It's fun. So what is more important to support? Okay, so I think the winner, we're competing, invite students to write something every day, but provide relevant tasks on authentic audiences is jumping there. 47, invite students to write something every day. 55 answers, okay. '62, so we have I think a good winner, and then there is a second slide which I'm moving over now to which why what was that your reason? Why is that so important to prioritize? And I want to hear a little bit more about that. Okay, repetition, repetition, repetition. If they have an okay. Okay, I hope you're seeing the results. Practice make you better and better. Reflection, support other content learning. Confidence, right? I want my students to gain confidence and feel that they can express themselves in English. Any writing is good. Some students rely on it what others don't, all right? Relevance is the basic foundation of teaching to adults. They need to see purpose in what they're learning. I so agree with that. So much agree with that. Confidence, yeah, boost confidence. Writing a little bit every day allows students to become comfortable with writing and not feel like such an overwhelming task. So I'm going to stop the sharing again. And thank you for contributing to that Mentimeter, which I was so excited to share with you today. And indeed, I think it was when I was preparing, let me share the screen back up to continue the conversation. And when I was preparing this Mentimeter, I kind of listed this for you again. And then let me see the chat a little bit. For anyone, let me see. I like to taste it. That was a big one. I was sweaty about the Mentimeter, but I think we did it together. So thank you for helping me with the Mentimeter. Now I feel a little better about it. Christine says, for anyone who has been in the writing circle, the winner of the graph is provisional writing from the writing pyramid. Oh, thank you for sharing that. Wow, the teachers, Paulina, the teachers have very different ideas about writing themselves. No wonder it's so tough trying to meet the needs of our students who also have tons of ideas of what they need. Yeah, I think, Paulina, writing is one of those subjects, I think. Writing is one of those subjects. So this is what I was asking in the Menti, right? These are the statements I was putting. And when I looked at it, if I looked at it again, I'm thinking, well, to me, I want to kind of prioritize everything. To me, all of that, it's important. It's very important in the class, but I can see how different all the responses, which I would like to share anyways, later for you to have all the visions of writing, but thank you for sharing that. So we're going to move into another breakout room. And this is one of my favorite breakout room because guess what? It's a gallery walk. And gallery walk is one of my favorite activities to do. So in the chat, you're going to have a Padlet link. And that Padlet link is going to take you to my gallery walk. So in this gallery walk that I'm going to project right now for you, and I love gallery walks. Who else loves gallery walk here? Even virtual, I love it. I love it in person, I love it virtual, hybrid, whatever, you name it. So you have a gallery walk. And what I want you to do in your groups, I want you to visit each of the pieces, right? So you have writing task here, writing exercises. And what I want you to do, I want you to go through the suggested activities. And I want you to think about and discuss how you could apply or modify them for your audiences. And there is a fun, if you get excited and you want to share with us, there is a last column of the Padlet where if you got a winning strategy, please let us know. Give us your secret sauce. So I've added I kind of revised and researched a lot of robust strategy that I wanted to share with you today. So I added differentiated learning dogs, bell ringers, talk back, from context to story, which I have to say is one of my favorite, blogging it up, think, respond, and there is an empty column for you to think about it. So you're gonna be placed in breakout rooms again. Explore, so you have the instruction. Thank you, Marisa. Explore as many columns of the Padlet as possible with your group and discuss application of this. And if you have something really great you want to add, there is a column for you to add to discuss.
I'm gonna start.
Okay, welcome back. I got entertained. I'm sorry by reading your responses. And again, thank you so much for this participation. And again, these are no prescriptive activities, but I felt like, oh, let me find activities that I've used, that I've seen that are popular in research, and I wanted to put it there for you in the gallery walk to kind of think about it and talk about it. But I am very curious about the last column of the Padlet, which is got a winning strategy. Share with us, right? And I don't know, I want to invite Stephanie to talk a little bit about that activity. And I don't want to put you in the spot. It's just, if you want, you can use the chat or you can unmute yourself. And I want to hear a little bit more about the activity that you're commenting on the last column.
Okay, I will unmute, but a warning, my children are home watching a Monty Python movie in the background. So if you hear,
That's a lot of laughs. That's good.
Okay. Okay. So many years ago, I worked with a woman named Amy Reisdorf, and we worked with new arriving immigrants and refugees. And we used to take a lot of field trips out into the community because Amy was sort of fearless, and we would take like the bus downtown to go to the farmer's market. She would find free opportunities to go to museums and such. So we took a lot of outings, and she would always bring along a camera, and then we would take a bunch of photos of the learners doing whatever, posing next to vegetables, getting on and off the bus. And then Amy was pretty techie, and she would create, a PowerPoint using all of these images, and then she would turn them to be printed into slides, and you can do slides with lines for writing. She would create those packets for the learners, and then we would just ask them, tell us what was happening in this picture. And then we'd take what they wrote and we'd share that language, and they would copy it down, and then they'd practice reading the story to each other. So that was kind of the activity. And I wish I got to use it more nowadays, but it was really wonderful back in the day.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds like a wonderful activity. Thank you for sharing that. I see that. Sure, please, Katrina. Yes.
So I teach digital literacy, and I added the link for the text that my learners generated using LEA into that comment. So if you scroll to the top, you'll see my learners created that, and then I created a leveled close activity from the text. So all the learners got in our van. We went to Repowered, which is a local e-cycling organization. We brought our classroom volunteer with us. So the learners collectively put this writing together. And then I made it a close activity, and then I used it for about 2 weeks. But this was just like really meaningful for the learners. They also, it's strictly a computer class, and they really liked the focus on English practice. So
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I had a feeling that that column was gonna, the last column where you were sharing these activities like that, I was gonna generate great ideas for us to keep. So you have access to this this Padlet. We're approaching, I want to respect your time, and we're approaching the end of the session. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to discuss a little bit and to talk about your own ideas regarding the last column. There is also a lot of, again, the session I attended yesterday, which was about writing and AI, and I walked away even thinking further. I have to think more about this. I have to think about more about writing and how to bring AI and think about activities with AI now and writing. So that's one thing I'm definitely taking away. I know you have questions about particular, for example, differentiated logs, and explain a little bit more about it. I promise that after we finish today, I will add more clarification. I will come back to the Padlet and I will add more clarification on the strategy that you have questions. And I think differentiated logs is one that you're requesting to explain a little bit more. So I promise that after the session, I will go and I will add more about it. I'm checking the chat now, and Danielle is saying that, oh, okay, but I was right, I think that's funny. So I'm checking also the chat to see if there's anything else regarding, I thought there were, one of my favorite activities is from content to story, and we've done a lot of raft, activities with the students. Also, talk back to the text is really one of my favorite things to do in class as well, and that I repeatedly do, and I think it works really well in the class. So in the chat, I want to ask you again towards the end of the session, we're approaching the wrap-up of the session. If you have to tell me, if you have to state 2 things, I'm presenting 2 things that you're taking away from today's conversation, great conversation we have had, what would that be? We've talked about thinking, writing, reading, authentic tests, visual learning, infographics. So think about it. And if you have to think about 2 things you're cementing, you're taking away with you after today's great conversation, what would that be? Please chat out. And think about, try to recall, let's use some recall from the first part of the session, the second part of the session, what would that be? Oh, Stephanie, that's wonderful. Yes, you all are. We all are collectively doing amazing work. Use AI. All right. Text means a lot of things. Yes, yes. To continue and try new things. Yes, as a good reflective practitioner, never let it die. Always experience, take risks. Consider student background. Yes, it's always a good conversation. These questions are bell ringers. Have learners write to each other. Yes. I'm lovely reading this. Include visuals. It's tend to forget that. Excellent. So thank you, Ashley. Yes, opportunity to write more. All right, so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing. And I'm gonna stop my sharing so we can have a final oh, my video is not showing. Oh. But can you hear me? Yes, right?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, my video for some reason is not showing. So well, I wanted to thank you. This was wonderful. I've learned so much today, so I felt like I was just guiding a great conversation. And I was just a facilitator, and I have learned so much as well, which is why I love these big groups and these big events, because I take so much away with me. I thank you so much for having me here, inviting me to your institute, the conference, attending sessions other than that, and hope to see you soon, maybe at Keynote. So thank you again.
Lizelena,